I'm back. I know you missed me. It's Sideline Sports Tuesday night. We got Jake Malik. You said the name wrong last week. Don't think I don't watch the show when I'm not here. Dave DeRocher. Did I say it right?
No. You guys are
I
brutal.
suck.
You guys are killing me, man.
DeRocher, correct?
Well,
Rocher.
yeah, you can do the French thing, DeRocher. Yeah,
Yeah.
JB puts the New York twist on. I don't know where you come up with it.
Then,
hey, do you say wash, JB?
Washed?
Wash. Yeah, when you do
Instead
the
of-
wash, do you
instead of
say
wash?
Oh no, washed.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
He just doesn't say.
I'm trying to help you, man. Because well, I've been doing this for weeks with these cats, and they don't know my name. Anyway,
And
hopefully you get our guest's name right.
And then not John Shear on the bottom right because he's going to be late tonight.
I'll be here when he decides to show up.
We replaced him with Walter Thurman III. I know I said that right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Welcome, Walter. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing well. So Dave roped you into this craziness.
Yeah.
I'm going to apologize in advance.
I was going to say I'm sorry for what he's done. We're all fun, but still, it's craziness. JB's right.
So before we start, go ahead, Jake. Ask your question. I know you're dying to know.
I don't have to ask anything. I think you meant to Walter. To Dave, of course. Yeah. Dave, what are the tacos this week? I think you meant like we're starting the interview. I was
okay.
like, no.
I hate to let you guys down. I had a huge business lunch. I had a big steak, and I still have to hit the gym. No tacos tonight. So, Walter, every Tuesday night, I have some variation of tacos. It's Taco Tuesday. I told these guys, I go, look, man, you can't pull me into a podcast at dinner time on Taco Tuesday. Now I'm actually going to have to make my own tacos now. So I mean, this has been a sacrifice, and they can't even get my name right.
Okay, so important clarification question then. Are you going to have tacos later?
No.
Okay.
My heart hurts
Wow.
now.
Yeah,
I'm so sad.
But you guys are putting a chink in my whole routine now.
We've destroyed the routine.
Just get my name right, and then we'll be good. Hey, Walter's used to like professional podcasts. I hope I didn't. And one other thing, just so you know, and you guys are aware, we're opening some discussions with Gus Frerotte and the NFL alumni. I don't know if I could talk about this,
Not.
but I had a brief discussion with Walter, and the one big emphasis that they'd like to have is team specific podcasts, and so he and I have decided that would be a cool thing to do. We're going to try and rope in a couple other guys and do a SoCal Seahawk deal.
But Dave, you weren't a New York Giant, Dave.
Pardon?
You weren't a New York Giant.
No, I was on a winning team. What we did is we won.
Wow.
Wow.
Walter only won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you know where he won it, by the way. Right here, where my New York Giants play. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So,
I think that's important that we all talk about the fact that not only did he win a Super Bowl, but he did it in my home state, the team that JB and I represent. Yeah, there's something special to that. And then, of course, he played for our Giants, which you can't forget. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's why he's already one of the great ones here.
I was JB. I was afraid you were about to say he's better than Dave, and I was going to call you out because that's not nice.
Dave's already cemented himself as a great one. I mean,
I was really afraid.
The work that Dave does for the veterans and with his foundation, with the First Foundation. Listen, Dave's a great one. Walter does a lot of work as well. Dave was telling us about it. Walter, before we start, if you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, that'd be a phenomenal way to start.
Yeah, I mean, kind of hover around three spaces: entertainment, technology, philanthropy. Understand life's not long in the NFL. Not for long, obviously, and looking at different interests that I had kind of growing up. Always kind of circled around the first two with the entertainment technology. The philanthropy is something that was kind of, I think, always there, but kind of having different role models through my grandmothers of being more philanthropic in their nature and being able to give back and kind of paying it forward. Took that kind of onus on there and just looking to help provide various opportunities for youth, right? I mean, it's kind of the thing that you don't know what you don't know, and we're all exposed to different things, whether it's at home or in the school system. And so just being able to provide a different outlook on something to where, it may spark an interest, spark an idea, realize I have a skill set in this particular type of space. How am I able to hone that? I'm very, passionate in believing that we're all great at something. We're all good at something. it's the hard part is identifying what that is and being able to hone those things, right? Whether it's parents distract you, it's peers distract you, schools, whatever the case may be. Sometimes we kind of shy away of the things that we're good at to try to please others in that capacity. And so it's kind of taking that aspect on and showing that, again, like I said, I grew up being creative. I used to build computers in one of the back rooms with a buddy of mine at church. And so like that's something that a lot of people don't know about in that capacity. Is football is always football. But for me, technology was one of those type of things. And it's easy to get labeled, oh, that guy's wore glasses, big old glasses. I was all skinny and everything like that. Like, oh, that guy's a nerd, he's a dork, or whatever the case is. So you have that stigma that kind of comes about with things that you're passionate or interested in, and kind of just making that part of your identity and building upon that. So.
Well, I'll tell you guys, hey, when I first met Walter, so I think you guys got a glimpse of it. He's an uber smart cat, and and he has a tech company, and we'll ask him more about that. And with a couple of really cool people I've gotten to know, Karen and Eric, and it's all geared towards youth. The other thing, Walter, though, that you touched on, this is really I think important for young people, are those extrinsic influences, those things outside of you, right? And you need to focus on your intrinsic, your inner characteristics, those intrinsic things like personality and your aptitude, interests and traits and all those things. Those are the things you need to focus on. Listen to yourself, finding that happiness. And so it was a really a neat point that you brought up.
Yeah, and I've always been a big proponent of learning from everyone I come in contact with. Right, everyone has a certain type of life experience that I just don't have, and vice versa. Right, and so it'd be foolish of me not to take in your life experience of JB or Jake or Dave in this conversation here, and not be able to apply it in some capacity. Right, if I'm trying to maximize myself as an individual to be able to learn that aspect. And so I think it allows me to take a step back, be a little bit more neutral, and not have over a biased opinions in a topic or discussion, and being able to hear the other person out of where they're coming from and trying to have a better understanding, whether it's from a cultural aspect, obviously from if it's from East Coast versus West Coast, because those two dynamics are totally different. Oh, yeah. And it's I don't want to get all philosophical, political in that aspect, but I think that's one of those things to where we don't do a good job of listening to the conversation, and we have a standpoint that we're just trying to, I'm gonna stick to my side. And the crazy part is that usually most people are talking about the same thing, and so they have the same sentiment, right? So
isn't it kind of wild, Walter, that most people are probably more alike than we would admit? And if we just listened, we'd probably all get along, and we'd be somewhere close to agreeing on a lot of things.
Except for Dallas Cowboy fans, you can't agree with those.
You know what? Yeah. Hey, it's good to know we can all agree on that. That's a decision that. Hey, we don't have to argue about that. Everybody can agree. They're a special breed.
Jerry Jones will charter the jet, and they can all get on it and go to their own little island.
I was gonna say, and they can go to their own little island where they can golf in the off season and do whatever they want, because they live
talk about how they're going to win the Super Bowl.
They live in a la la land. They believe every year is their year, and
hey, it's everyone's year. It's just it's kind of tough when you have the guy that's owner operator, then also picking players. Maybe some players, because some guys are system guys, right? And you're not picking the right personnel to be able to fit those particular type of systems. Some guys can be in any type of system. Those guys are kind of special within that regard, but it takes a lot of insight to try to find the right players to be able to fit your team there. And so it's
you're right.
Even with the championships with the Giants had, it's very defense oriented, offense kind of manager thing. But the one thing, so for a long time I wasn't an Eli Manning fan through Madden and stuff like that. And then when I got up there and got to know him, I'm like, oh, this is a great dude right here. He's cool. Because he has such a nonchalant personality when he plays, though, right? And so like you kind of you look at it from a quarterback standpoint, like, oh, you think he'd be more serious, but like I think his nature of just being so laid back is like, oh, that's a cool locker room guy. Like that's one of the best quarterbacks played around.
Okay. All right. So now I got to ask you, How was he in the locker room? I got to know more about this.
He's a funny guy.
I gotta hear, like, you don't get this from a lot of people. So
he's funny. I mean, he cracks jokes with guys. If someone's shooting jokes there, he'll jump and chime in. Very down to earth. And I think some quarterbacks aren't personable in that capacity. They're kind of focused doing their own thing. But yeah, he was kind of it seemed like he was a little bit more integrated. And even though I was only there for the 1 year, but he just just seemed very personable in that regard, though. And you hear all different types of Eli stories and stuff like that, which is pretty funny in itself. But yeah, but going back to that aspect, one of the greatest fourth quarter quarterbacks to play a game. And it's like, he had the mentality, like, I don't care if we're down. I threw 4 picks, so I'm going to come back and win the game. And it's like, kind of having that mentality of like, I trust in my team. I trust in defense, and I'm going to make the plays when they matter. And I mean, what you guys, the 2 Super Bowls were wild cards, right? I didn't
barely made the playoffs. Shouldn't have really been there.
Barely made the playoffs, but go on the road, and he plays phenomenal games, right? And the defense rallies around there. So like, there's something, everyone's game is different. Where you can't be on the front side like his brother maybe, who's breaking records and having 10-win seasons and going to the playoffs and going to Super Bowl, things of that nature, to where he has his own little niche that makes him great in his own right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird as a Giant fan. A lot of games that you would think were winnable, because he was so nonchalant. You look at the game and it was like maybe he didn't do what he could. Not that I'm sure he was playing his hardest, but. Yeah. From a fan's perspective, I'm sure it's a lot different. You guys being in a locker room, Dave and Walter, but from us watching it, you're playing a team that's below you in the standings or has 3 or 4 wins, and you have 7. You think you're better, you should win, and they go out and he play a bad game, and it's like, but he's a great player. It's it's just frustrating.
Well, and it's football. It's the ultimate team sport, and not just one person can win a game. And so I think there's a heavy onus that the quarterback is the end all be all. But at the end of the day, there's 10 other guys that are on offensive side, another 11 guys on defense, and then special teams in its own beast. And those guys are the unsung heroes of teams there. And so. It's really tough to gauge when you look at like, oh, why didn't he didn't play well? He put up decent numbers, but then what about the other aspects of the game on why a team didn't win?
Right.
Yeah. I think
I'll tell you what, Walter, you brought up a very valid point on the special teams, and we had a very famous special teams coach, and now it's Rusty. Maybe one of you guys remember his name, but we won so many games from our special teams. We I think led the league in blocked field goals. Joe Nash, was just phenomenal at swimming the center and making plays. But we spent a lot of time on special teams, and that third factor is really important. And you can tell the teams that spend time on it and the teams that don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of the game. And
Rusty Tillman, thanks, JT. Man,
Rusty
appreciate you, brother, man. See. We got behind the scenes. Like when I have my senior CTE moments, JT helps me out.
This is why we love having JT. He's
JT is great.
Yep,
he's got it.
We had one of the best special teams coaches on a couple of months ago, Mike Westhoff. Great guy, and he's coaching in Denver now. He did a phenomenal job with a lot of different teams, and people don't give enough respect to special teams. And it could change the course of a game. 10 yards, 15 yards, average on a punt return. If you don't get that, changes the field around.
Yeah.
Did you play special teams, Walter?
It wasn't my favorite task.
Yeah. Hey, I've already shared this. I got real slow. All right, kickoff return. I mean, DeRocher, you're faster than that. Come on, Mike. Oh no, man, I'm doing that's like
I'm faster than that. Normal on special teams, no.
Yeah, you get on kickoff, play a little kickoff, and then punt return, either returning or as a corner out there. But being a gunner on punt, that's one of the hardest positions. You got 2 guys beating you up the whole time as you're running out there. That's not fun.
Yeah.
Or if you're like the interior guys on a kickoff and you have to go bust through a 280-pound or 300-pound lineman wedge. Yeah, that's not fun. At 200 pounds, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Back when there was a wedge. Yeah. Back when there was. Yeah. Hey, don't open that can of worms about back when. Yeah. Jeez.
I always thought the guys who return punts, that's a crazy position. I couldn't imagine just looking up in the air, waiting for the punt when you got a gunner running after you, full speed.
No, thank you.
Yeah, there's no way in the world I'd want to do that.
You know, like it's one of those things to where you kind of have some control, but you have to have so much faith on your guys on the outside to trust that they're going to give you enough time to catch that ball to be able to go make a move. And like you see some pretty gnarly hits out there to where gunners are coming down like a speeding bullet, and you don't count for them, and you guys get him blowing up there. And so you got to have a lot of trust in those guys on the outside that they're gonna slow them down. Especially if you have two guys out there, they have to just get them out of there. Those are the best times. But if it's a one-on-one, you're a little bit more hesitant because
understandably so.
Yeah.
Hey, Walter, so I had the opportunity to go up to an alumni game, and this is back just before my father passed, and get to meet Pete Carroll. And I played for Chuck Knox. That's a completely different dynamic, but to meet him just for a weekend and see how he interacted. What was it like to play for him?
He's a player's coach, so it's two folds, right? He's a head coach and he's also co-GM there. And so from a player coach standpoint, he's really personal with the players, really attention to detail. He's down to earth, things that you want out of a player's coach. The thing that gets tough and interesting, now he has to put on the GM hat, where now he's hiring and firing guys. And so it kind of can rub guys the wrong way because of the two are so they're not separated, they're kind of intertwined there. Right. And so, that in the later years, post me, leaving and going to the Giants, things of that nature, you had some guys a little bit more vocal within that regard because it became more prevalent, I guess you can say. And so it seems like it's almost kind of two-faced because like you're telling this guy, hey, how's it going, John? You're doing a great job. And then you fire John the next day.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's, again, I guess is the naiveness in some aspects of like this is a business, this is the industry here. Right. But then also it's tough being a player's coach when you're also wearing the GM hat as well, because the GM doesn't have to be down with the players there. They can bring their guy to go hire people in that regard. And so when you know that the guy that's also the player coach is also firing guys or hiring guys, it makes it kind of difficult. Yeah. I mean, from a coaching standpoint, I mean, he knew what it took to win. He knew how to get the most out of guys. Him and Schneider do a great job of being able to identify players that can fit into their scheme, especially for what their identity is going to be. And he's a winner. And I've seen that when I was with the Giants with Tom Coughlin. He was at a very transitional stage in his career because he's trying to adapt to this new football, this new age of football. I enjoyed Tom. Tom was cool. And so, it's kind of interesting, kind of where he was at. Obviously, Hall of Famer coach, obviously a legend there in New York, and so I enjoy my time there with him as well. But going back to Pete, players coach, he knows how to win. It'd be interesting to see how they kind of play out this next season here.
So I'll tell you,
happens with the draft though, right? The draft is huge for
So my dad, and he was, like I said, he was I went up there and his favorite team is Notre Dame. His second favorite team is anybody playing SC. So I'm like, Dad, so I want to take you to the barbecue, take you to the game. We could be on the sidelines, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah.
It's like behave.
And he goes, oh, so do I get to meet the gum chewer? I said, his name is Pete Carroll, Dad. His name is not gum chewer. Am I? Oh. He calls him the gum chewer.
Yeah. He's the gum chewer, and Jason Garrett was the clapper. It's all the nicknames. But
like that. Come on, bro.
So Walter, going back, you were talking about special teams and talking about guys running at you, and it got me thinking about one of your teammates while you were in Seattle was Marshawn Lynch, who has got to be one of the scariest players on a football field to have running at you. Was there ever in practice, just like, were you on the field with him at practice, watching him just, take some reps running? Was it as scary as we all would assume it might be to have him running, not even like specifically you, but just kind of in your direction because of how massive and powerful he was?
I mean, practice is kind of an interesting beast because like you're not going live in that regard. So it's totally different than, being in the game type situation. I mean, you can see kind of, his looseness, but nothing compares to him just kind of being in the game there. and just, not one person just tackling him. It's going to be a 2-person tackle almost every single time there. And so it's, how strong is, because, he's not the most, ripped person out there, but, he just has this ultimate will to be successful and to, break tackles and be able to get to the goal line there. And so a great person, great guy, a good friend there. And so, enjoyed that time, playing with him and then competing against him at Cal. I went to University of Oregon, so I had a couple battles against him when he was at Cal. Again, different body type when he was at Cal, though.
Sure, yeah.
So Jake.
Yes, sir.
If you want to talk about like real practice, like 3-a-days, live practice, that's my era.
Yeah.
Walter got to experience the CBA.
Well, I got it for 1 year. My rookie year was the last year of 2-a-days, and then bargaining.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Thank God for unions. So Walter, what was it like, playing in the secondary in Seattle, the Legion of Boom? I mean, that was probably one of the best secondaries of all time.
One of the best defenses.
What did that mean to you?
A lot of those guys we got drafted together. We're part of Pete's first draft class there. Myself, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, and so it was kind of the building blocks. So everyone had a chip on their shoulder. Even Earl, being a first-round draft choice, had a chip on his shoulder. He came in I think he got drafted. He was 20 years old. Redshirt sophomore there. But he had this idea. He wanted to be a Hall of Famer. I remember having a conversation with him. He's like, I want to be a Hall of Famer. And everything how he conducted himself was kind of in that manner. And we had this sense of, if Earl made a play, Cam wanted to make a play. If I made a play, Browner wanted to make a play, or Trufant wanted to make. We always constantly just kind of fed off each other and really held ourselves accountable to to push each other there. And so that's what kind of made us, and that trickled down to the defensive line and trickled down to the linebacker core. And then easily just trickled over to the special teams unit, and the defensive special team unit was kind of one and the same. So you had a lot of defensive guys playing there, and then some of the offensive guys that were playing special teams, then they started to take their mentality to the offensive side of the ball, and so it just started to spread on. Again, obviously being led by Marshawn Lynch, Doug Baldwin, with that type of mentality is that as well in that regard, and so we understood during that Super Bowl run there that nothing was going to be easy. They say when you play road games, you take your defense and you take your special teams. And so we knew when we were out there, it was going to be up to us to try to make something happen, create a play, get a turnover, score points to win some of those games. And so, we grinded through the course of that season. We might have had like 2 games where we kind of just, blew out, opponents in that aspect. There's been plenty of times on the road where we're down by, 7-8 points going into the fourth quarter, or 2 minutes left, and we had to make a stop somewhere, or we're down 20 going into the fourth quarter. And so we knew perseverance going into that Super Bowl, to where we've been hit in the mouth and we knew how to hit back in the mouth. And Denver wasn't that, because they broke every record in the record book. So when you're doing that, you're not down too much in the course of a game. And so it was just a different of personality types that was on their team versus our team.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was going to ask you about the Super Bowl anyway, because that was a Super Bowl that I figured was, when I was watching, was going to go one of 2 ways. Either, unfortunately, what would have been, the opposite of what happened, which was Seattle was going to get clobbered because that offense was so good, or I figured there would be a really good battle of like great Seattle run game and solid offense versus this incredible defense, against that offense, and it was going to be a tight game there. And it was neither of those things. Seattle just you guys ran all over Peyton Manning and the Broncos.
Yeah,
wasn't there like a safety early in the game too?
It was.
The first play in offense was a safety.
It was. Yeah.
I remember that clearly, because the box schools. I had great numbers, and I'm like, I think I had 7-0 or 7-7, and then there was the safety, and I'm like,
come on,
you got to be kidding me.
I heard like some ladies made a bet that the first play of the game was going to be a safety, and
oh boy,
just cleaned house on that bet. But yeah, it was an interesting aspect. I think it was the whole 2 weeks we kind of just heard how
That's exactly the play. Thank you,
Nice,
JJ.
JT.
Right? How great, the Broncos are and how great Peyton Manning was. And so we started to take offense, to that as a defense. Here we are, we're leading every statistical category on defense, run past the whole 9 yards. And, they're only talking about, the Broncos. And so everyone had a chip on their shoulder, going into that game there. And we just started to break down what they would like to do. We weren't fazed that he was going to call an audible. They were running only 3 plays. It was going to be a draw, it was going to be a quick pass, or it was going to be a route combination to beat our cover 3. And we knew that going into it. So we rallied to everything, and whoever has the ball, we're hitting them in the mouth. And he kind of overthought what we were doing because we played 95% of our snaps cover 3. It wasn't everyone knew what we were coming out in. We know that you know what we're going to come out in, and we know that you're going to draw up route concepts to beat us, and we're going to defend those route concepts. That's what was so unique about the defense, where there was really no weaknesses in the defense, even though there's natural holes in the defense, in all defenses. And so we actually just prepared for what the weaknesses are in that defense. And that's why we were so successful. So the quarterback that's looking for a particular route concept, it's not there. Now you have to check it down, knowing that you're going to check it down. We're going to hit him in the mouth at 3 yards, or you're going to get a sack or a rush pass and incomplete. And so,
I'll tell you what, after all that success and the way that defense was run, it was unconventional. A lot of the formations, a lot of the way you guys were set up, I'm thinking as offensive linemen, okay, you walk up and you either got a 3-4, you got a 4, 4, whatever it is, there are guys standing up, there are guys, it was all over the place. Yeah. And how that set the dynamic for some of San Diego State guy, we're always undersized, and you guys were undersized, but you guys just flew. Right, you just flew to the ball, and you just were going to make a play. It didn't matter, and it was amazing to see how that permeated throughout so many different defensive schemes, and it was like the Seattle scheme. We're going to use our undersized guys. We're going to use our quickness. We're going to fly around. We're going to hit, and we're going to have 10 guys on the ball, 11 guys on the ball every time.
Yeah, especially
and it set like a precedent, because of the success you guys had.
I mean, it was such a great defense, and then to top it off, you guys have one of the best home field advantages with the 12th man. Imagine how loud it gets in Seattle with that great defense. Imagine having to play offense against that.
Well, we don't have to imagine. We can ask Walter about it. He can tell us.
One last thing for the Super Bowl, which doesn't get talked about either. As a defense versus their offense, we could have won this Super Bowl 8-7 with our safety and first fumble for the 6th there, and so we would have beat the number 1 offense of history.
You guys beat them anyway, yeah. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been to both states. I was in the Kingdom, back to you couldn't even have a conversation with the guy next to you. It was just so deafening and loud. Your ears would ring heading home. It's amazing to see that stadium, an outdoor stadium, be almost equally as loud. I've been there, and it's a testament to the 12th man, because they're going all game, and especially, man, when the defense sparks up and makes a play, it's amazing. And if they can get those guys to jump off sides, then you're screwed. Yeah. Man, it goes up 20 decibels, man.
Yeah, I mean, having played football at Oregon, for college, there's something about the Pacific Northwest and their fan base, and it may not be a lot of people in the stands, it seems like, but their passion for sports is, it's kind of second to none in a different capacity. Maybe because it rains and overcasts, 9-10 months out of the year. I don't know what it is, but the fan base out there is just it's pretty ridiculous. So if you happen to be if you're opposing team going in there, I can't speak for that. I heard they're kind of ruthless.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Walter. Just one more thing before we let you go, or you can hang around and talk other sports.
I'm sorry to cut you off, JB, but I don't know if your question was about his youth golf programs and the things he's doing. But if you're going to ask him something else, then let's let him talk about that too.
Yeah, definitely. So real quick, I hear you played softball in Philly. Is that correct?
Who plays softball in Philly?
Did you play softball in Philly under a different name? I got to ask you that.
No, I was. There was a guy I was representing who was playing softball out there. You mean Dick Mahoney? That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
I'm talking about Dick Mahoney.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Walter, does he look like you?
Did he look at me? No, he didn't look like me.
Oh, what are you doing, JB?
I don't know. That's what I heard.
Did you look at
Maybe
it?
I hear a lot of things. I just don't.
Dave,
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, so Dave, there was a rumor in the streets that I was playing softball under this alias of Dick Mahoney there, and he just abruptly jumped ship right when the playoffs were coming through the season there, and no one knew who the guy was. He just kind of came out of nowhere. He was a friend of somebody's, and I guess he had some resemblance to me there. I just connected the dots on him to be able to go out there and go play there.
So first of all, the name Dick Mahoney.
Hey, that's a good name.
Sounds like a completely made up name.
That's as white of a name as
Richard
you come
Mahoney?
up with.
Richard Mahoney's
so
out there?
white. You can put Dick Mahoney on here.
No, so yes. So Dick Mahoney is a fictional character I've been developing.
All right.
He's a private eye. He's a detective.
Oh, that you did.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, huh? Yeah.
You came up with it.
Oh yeah. So it's so I when I was in Seattle, I played softball when I was out there in the off season and stuff like that. I grew up playing baseball and everything, and so I had a friend who's big into rec sports in the Philly area, and I'm like, hey man, I want to get out there and play some softball, but I have a go by the guy by the name of Dick Mahoney there. And so, he had a Jerry curl wig, he had gold chains, and just kind of just fitting the part. So for the longest time, people didn't know who this guy was pulling up, and only black guy that was on the team. And so people was questioning, like asking my friend Greg, he's like, hey man, Greg, like who's this guy? Like what's he do? People thought he was a pimp or a drug dealer or something. I don't know. I mean, go change there. And so his first at bat, he struck out. First at bat, struck out. Who strikes out in softball? Slow pitch softball. It's unheard of. And so, the next game tries to redeem himself and hits 4 home runs. And then the legend Dick Mahoney was born. So
wait.
Fantastic.
Wait. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, for 10, 12 games, they didn't know who Dick Mahoney was.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's like one of my favorite stories ever.
Yeah, I was going, good job, Dick. Good job, Mahoney. No clue there. I don't know.
Wow, that's crazy. So tell us how you're involved with youth golf, because that's something that's really cool.
Kind of just fell into the lap there. Just started fell in love with golf, going to some of these charity golf tournaments and stuff like that. Opportunity presented itself when I was moved back to the Los Angeles area, and as a coach at my former high school. And I was like, oh, you get to pay me to play golf and coach, like sign me up. And so as I started to dive deeper, it was 2020, it was COVID. That was my first year. So I only did half the season there, but it allowed me to kind of pierce the veil in the education space and just kind of see some of the discrepancies within that. And I created my foundation, United Champions for Change, to be able to help provide educational and athletic resources for youth. And so as I started to dive further into understanding, golf in this space, as a lot of Americans did during this time, because that was the only thing you could do is be outdoors. I started to see how hard it is to be able to get various opportunities within the golf space. And so we curate and develop golf tournaments that are free of charge for individuals who are looking to be competitive in golf. Because some of these golf tournaments could be anywhere from $80 to $300, $400 to be able to get into some of these tournaments. And that's the only matrix where, colleges are looking at for these kids to be able to, have consideration in that regard. In high school space, you don't play 18 holes, enough, especially in California. It's like your league matches are 9-hole matches. You may, they cap you at 4 tournaments per school through the course of the year. So, it's
so expensive.
Yeah. So so it's very hard to try to find an opportunity to be able to get out there. And there's actually a lot of golf scholarships outside the major D1 programs. Mm-hmm. And for women's sports or girls sports, it's one of the most underutilized scholarships of all of college sports.
Yep.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So the barrier to entry to be able to get a scholarship, you can shoot, in the 80s, 90s in some instances, and girls can get scholarships to go play, D1, D2, D3 golf somewhere. And so it's like, just trying to bring awareness into that capacity. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, Walter, I got to say, it was a pleasure having you on. You're welcome to stay if you like to talk about some other stuff, but it was definitely a pleasure. Where can people find you, real quick?
On Twitter, WaltTherm3. Yeah, so on the Twitter there.
You're like Dave. You keep it real simple. I love it.
What about
really easy?
We got to keep it simple, But guys, and I'd be remiss if we let him go without saying, Walter is just a great dude. I've gotten to know him. I went to one of his tournaments, raising money for some other youth program that he was involved with, whatever it was, pre-COVID. And that's how we kind of connected, and since then, you guys were, witness to he and I talking about all the things that we're going to try and do here in Southern California for veterans and support veteran programs, to support youth programs, and just be involved in the community. And Walter Thurman is an awesome guy. And, it's fun to hear the stories. It's fun to hear about the NFL. But, we have to recognize that a lot of us love to give back to the community, and Walter's one of those guys. So thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us for a minute. And we're going to continue to do great stuff together. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And the nonprofit is UnitedChampionsForChange.org.
Yes.
Awesome.
Website.
Very important. Yes.
Hey, support that guy. Like I said, he's doing great things for young people. And the stats he gave you, I'm very familiar with those, and that is absolutely true. One of the most underutilized scholarship opportunities for females is golf at universities, and you really don't even need to be that good.
Well, that's great to know, because a lot of people have trouble affording college, and
yes,
that could be an opportunity. So that's awesome.
Life is not cheap.
So
especially not that. Speaking
of money, we're going to bring Raphael in.
Awesome! Hey, are we going to talk about these guys?
Sure.
I'm sure we will.
And real quick, Walter, if you've got to go, please don't feel like you have to stay, but you're of course more than welcome to hang out and just chat with us. So I just want to make sure
I'll hang out, see what's going on.
Just want to make sure you don't have anything going on.
All right, so we got Raphael coming in, and I don't know who else is coming in. I know we got John somewhere in the background. We had James Tatum pop up. So whoever wants to come in with Raphael, everybody get in now or forever stay out. Yeah. But I see a lot of people with mics on in the background with ear pump.
Walter, Raphael is our odds guy, right?
Okay.
And he has odds on everything. I think he just has odds on. I don't know. He's got odds on everything. He was sending me odds on Guardians of the Galaxy, like who's going to die or something. And I thought it was a joke, but he's got an odd. He's got odds on everything. And
how's that work? How's that work on the Guardians of the Galaxy work?
Raphael, here you go.
Raphael, explain.
Give him a link. Raphael,
a lot of people have inside information on this. How does that work?
Well, yes, they do have inside information, but we're not taking $1 million bets on a producer of the movie. This is mostly for customer service and for geeks like myself and probably people that are watching this who love movies and stuff like that. But we had a lot of action on Guardians of the Galaxy because it's the last one. I won't spoil it, but a couple of
you've
stars.
Seen it already?
I have seen it already because I get to see movies months in advance.
I just got to ask one question: is it as good as we all hope it's going to be? You don't have to tell me anything else. Just
it's good. There's a little shockers. There's some shockers in it.
I don't want to know.
I think he answered already, Jake.
That's
that sounds like a no to me.
Yep. I'll take yes.
What's the odd on Drax dying? What's the odds there?
See, I did an interview this morning and I refused because someone does die. One of the main characters is dead.
Oh, we all know who it is.
Drax dies.
I got $5 on Drax then.
Oh, I'm putting 10 on Rocket. Come on, it's so obvious. It's got to be him.
Dave Bautista's they can let Dave Bautista go there.
Walter, I loved watching you at Oregon. I worked in Vegas for over 15 years, so I got to watch a lot of Pac-12 football.
Nice.
Loved watching you play at Oregon. I could just close my eyes and see you bury some of the teams that we needed to win. And the Oregon defense was very underrated.
Was Michigan one of those teams?
I didn't want to name any names, but yes, it was. Because let's face it, that the Oregon defense back when you played was very underrated. People were always hyped up on the speed of the offense and never really thought, Oregon can't play defense. and they'll make a couple stops in the third and fourth quarter to change the way that the game went. And so I loved watching you play at Oregon.
Yeah, I think our DB group up there have 6 Super Bowls. I think with all the guys over there.
It wouldn't shock me. Yeah, you're probably right. Like I said, probably one of the most underrated defenses in Pac-12. Yeah. I can't speak for other universities, but loved watching you play there.
All right, so Raphael, thank you, JT. Always so helpful.
JT's on it.
Wow.
He's on it. So Raphael, best bets of the week. And one of them has to include the Lakers because Dave wants to talk about them. I can't blame him. I can't blame him.
I want to know. I called it last week. You weren't here, Raphael. The finals. Celtics, Lakers. What are the odds on that?
Right now, they've been coming downwards. We had them all the way up to 25-1 before the series of Memphis starting. And let's face it, the Lakers are probably the Kool-Aid flavor of the month because they're playing a very young Memphis team that looks like a very young Memphis team. So let me wait to see how they play Kings, Suns. Denver, no one's talking about the Nuggets, who is putting up some good numbers against Minnesota. But this is going to be a totally different team than when the Lakers play. They're going to beat Memphis easily, but I want to see how the Lakers play
the big money
in the next round.
Big.
I would say getting them right now, probably for the NBA futures. If you want to bet them now, I think that's probably the best bet you can get anywhere. I've seen anywhere between 15 to 10-1 odds to win it all.
That's pretty good money. It sounds nice to me. So Raphael, what's the best bets of the week? Come on, you got to give us something, especially because JB needs it. He needs something to win him some money. That's a bit of a long shot. He needs good odds, guaranteed money. Come on, give it to me.
I would say the best bet was last night. If we had to show last night before I went to bed, Levis, or what I like to wear, Levi's, was 40-1 to be the first quarterback drafted in the NFL draft on Thursday. Now he's 4-1 to 5-1. So I don't know if misinformation is out there. I still don't think he's going
I don't believe it.
But if you have that ticket, 40, 30, 25, you have a hedge ticket that you can probably pay your mortgage on Thursday just to hedge it off because you have a great number of 40-1. He's not going to be the number one, but I think it's very interesting. I would say the best bet right now is bet the over 4.5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Just because of all the noise, I think the kid from Tennessee, Hooker, is probably going to go now in the first round. So I think you can sometime get plus money. I saw plus 105 at FanDuel earlier today. So if you're looking for plus money, I think we're going to see those quarterbacks going down.
All right. Are you worried at all about CJ Stroud maybe falling out of favor a little bit? I've heard his test scores. It's not officially confirmed. I've heard conflicting reports, but I've heard a little bit of concerns about his not only his test reports, but commitments and certain things of that nature. Is there any concerns?
You know why his concerns are? Not his test scores, hand size, what he does in the pocket. His concerns are what university he went to. Tell me a quarterback from Ohio State to win the Super Bowl, make it to the Super Bowl, do anything to get to the ship. So I think that has a lot to do with it. If you're going to do a lot of your projections and stuff like that, they're playing against Northwestern, Purdue, stuff like that. I think that hurts him more than what he got in his test, his hand size or stuff like that. I don't think it has anything to do. It has to do with the universe, I think.
I don't disagree. It's why I think Alabama quarterbacks are usually the best because the SEC is so dominant and difficult. They're most prepared. So, all right. So, any other bets that we should be taking, specifically JB? Because again, JB is our betting man. He needs to win some money always. He always wants to.
I would go back.
Who doesn't want to win, buddy?
I would go back to the NBA. We all saw Jimmy Butler just blow up the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday.
I think you mean Jimmy Buckets because I'm sorry, but I have to call him that. That was very.
You know what? He actually doesn't like that. I've met him quite a few times when he played for the Bulls. When I played for the Bulls, he does not like that. He doesn't like nicknames. Period. That's why you saw in the press conference yesterday. He's a very, very noble guy. He just likes Jimmy Butler, James Butler. He says he doesn't like nicknames. But the Milwaukee Bucks getting plus money to win the series price. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, John, but they're the number one team in the NBA. Now they get to go back home. Giannis is playing and getting healthier day after day. Butler is not going to shoot 22 points in 8 minutes in the fourth quarter on the road or even back at an empty South Beach. I can't believe not one people. It was empty yesterday. Watch the game again. There was not that many seats. I watched the game. Not that many seats.
This is between you two. I'm not getting involved.
Well, full. I say getting the Milwaukee Bucks plus 120 to win the series right now, even though they're down 3-1. I think it's good money. You figured every time I blink, Miami's loses a player. They broken hand. I feel so bad for Oladipo. Met him quite a few times. One of the nicest guys. I actually almost wanted to cry watching him when he grabbed his knee because he knew it right then before he even landed on the ground. Yeah,
it was his career. Yeah,
one of the nicer guys. I met him at the NBA Summer League in Vegas quite a few times. Nice guy. I was heartbroken to see that, but I did just short-handed. And I think Milwaukee will win next game, and they'll probably steal a game itself.
Okay. All right. So I've got to ask. I have to ask one question, and we have about 10 minutes left. So I would like for the rest of us to hopefully cover just a little bit. So this is the best.
And you're mad that I put your name at Taylor Swift's next boyfriend. And you're mad I didn't put that on there.
Look, my girlfriend does not want to hear that. She might be a little mad. Anyway, the Jets.
Who's the favorite for that?
The Derek Jeter of our time is the favorite. Pete Davidson.
Oh man.
You write Derek Jeter's girlfriend list and Pete Davidson's girlfriend list and tell me who's better. It's close. It's a very, very close one.
He might be the new captain.
It's a very close girlfriend. It's very
watch
close.
Yourself, John. But anyway, so Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. I don't want to hear their Super Bowl odds. I don't care about that. I want to go to something a little more obscure because this is this kind of stuff you do.
Winning record?
Not even that. Do you have an over-under, or are you going to make an over-under on the amount of games and or years he plays for the Jets?
I'll put that up probably after draft. We're probably going to put up 2.5.
Okay.
I think. I mean, let's face it. He's going to play this year. If they make it to the playoffs, he'll probably want to come back and try to do something better. I don't see him playing 3 years.
No,
there's no way.
It
all depends on how he plays. If he has a season like he did last year, where it's one of his worst seasons, then I wouldn't doubt that he floats away and goes to a cave and smokes him and someone else smokes his way. Yeah. But it's funny how many people, how many tickets we took yesterday for the New York Jets to win the Super Bowl was
I can only imagine.
Was embarrassing. I felt so bad. I mean, I told my wife. I told my wife, "Here's the Amazon credit card. Just go wild." Because it was
wow. Gift money.
Yeah, it was
embarrassing.
Rodgers he's not even the best quarterback in his own division right now. Probably, I think I'd prefer Josh Allen on especially on the team and especially just in the AFC as a whole. He's maybe top 7, and I'm just doing this like. I'd have to go through all.
Not better. He's not better.
The guy is 2 years removed from an MVP season, Jake.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in the AFC.
I mean, the total season wins for Jeff was 9 yesterday. Now it's 9.5. The juice is over at minus 140. I do like Miami. Everyone says, "Oh, the Jets' defense is good." Miami's defense is really good too. But let's face it, John. We both know your quarterback has the biggest question mark of all in the NFL right now. If he's healthy, they could probably have a better record than the Jets. If he's not, then they may be calling the Jets for maybe Wilson to be the quarterback.
Wow.
The only other question I have: are there odds on Zach Wilson taking over the starting job, or will there be? I don't think it's going to happen, but I've just got to ask because it would be really funny.
I'm gonna put up. Will he start a game in 20 in the season? It's probably gonna be. It's probably gonna be 1.5 or 2. Okay. I'm just waiting to see again if anything gels because his name is probably gonna be dangled around Thursday. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah,
his name's gonna be dangled.
Some
quarterback in San Francisco's name's gonna be dangled around on Thursday. So once I get past the horrible day of the NFL draft, that I can't believe I have to sit there and watch it. With the finance scoop because I have prop bets, how many dogs are going to be showing on TV, how many girlfriends are going to try to grab a telephone,
how many sad stories are told by ESPN, making these players come from a whole.
I'm so sorry for you.
I can just imagine.
That's going to be painful.
Over under how many? Okay, here's a good one. Over under how many draftees will have ties on draft 1?
Oh, does that include bow ties or just ties?
Bow ties included. Over under is 18.5. The public's betting the over at minus.
I would bet the over. Right I think that's probably because bow ties included. I think there might be a couple.
Is it only in person, or if they go to them on TV as well?
In person, and then how many over under wearing glasses on stage?
Ooh.
Sunglasses included.
Oh.
Well, I think there's how many are going to the draft?
Wait.
Like
I thought it was only 17.
17, yeah. Going to
What's
the
the,
draft.
for the glasses? What's the over under for the glasses?
8.5. Everyone's betting the
John,
under.
John, get all the money. We're betting the under on that one.
Yeah, because there's only 17 going to the
Yeah, I think
draft.
there's only 17 going to.
Yeah, I have the list right here.
Yeah, so
It's a
Hey,
new
sunglasses
thing
count.
now. Everyone.
Yeah, but what about
The
you have an
ties.
over? You have hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they're expecting that there'll be some
So we
surprise
just-
attendees.
we just gave away a sure winner on the show. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Total trades in the first round. Over under 6.
Under.
Yeah.
Under.
I had it
by-
at 8. I had it at 8. and
I would have put the line at like 2.
I would say
maybe 3.
2.
It's
Yeah.
one of the world's worst days of NBA drafts. So many trades.
Yeah.
Baseball drafts fun. NHL draft is crazy. NFL is a snooze fest.
Yeah.
I'm just happy
long.
that the
It's
Big
long.
Bang Theory reruns are on TBS.
Hey, Raphael, that's coming from somebody that wasn't actually in the draft because I was left in snoozing.
I agree. But
All
for
right.
someone that has to sit there and grade prop bets
I was
for 4 hours straight, so I'm like,
I was
I don't.
disappointed, but I was
Yeah.
not snoozing.
Yeah. Were you Aaron Rodgers when the camera was just back there when he's still in the green room? He's still in the green room. He said,
Oh no, there was no green room on. Yeah,
no green room.
We
No.
didn't. Hey, Raphael, we didn't. Our phones were attached to a wall. We didn't have green rooms.
Oh yeah.
We had 2 days. We had 12 rounds, bro. You know, there was
The telephone room at Caesar's Palace in 1990s was rotary.
That's right, yeah.
That's how we used to contact the racetracks on a rotary
Well,
phone.
they invited 12 guys to that. So that yeah.
Look at James and John are looking at us like we're 90 years old.
Like, what's
Well,
rotary?
Yeah.
I know exactly what the cord
All
phones are.
I want to
I
know
know
is
exactly what that is.
I know why, but I'm going to ask anyway. James, why do you have a stuffed animal that you're holding, or a stuffed toy?
You trying to be disrespectful right now?
No, just want to know. But
Hey,
it's
Simba.
not what, it's why.
It's Simba.
It's Simba.
It's why.
That's
You know who
Steve
it is.
Simba.
Bro, I'm sitting on the couch and it's just over here. Don't be
I
hating.
wonder whose house you're at.
Don't-
I
don't
wonder
ever
who I
remember-
know that has kids that would have a Simba toy.
Well, I don't know.
You got a problem with it, bro?
No,
You got a
just was
problem with it?
curious.
I like Simba.
For
You know
those who
Lion
couldn't
King?
figure it out,
Lion King
Lion
still
King.
makes me cry.
hold on. For those who can't figure out what I was getting at, because Dave's a little
The
confused.
Lion King
He's
is
at
the
John's
greatest Disney
house.
movie of all time.
He's with John because him and John are going, as John says, NFL draft bound. John Shear.
Why you
Wow.
putting
One
our
of the
business
draft
out
tomorrow,
there?
In a couple
So,
hours, yeah.
So,
All right.
so he
People
is.
will
So
know what we're doing.
I
when
just
we're
poked
there.
fun because I know he's at John's house right now,
Is
and
there
I know all about this. So
John
wow.
has a sweet house, and
He does.
I'm grateful to be in this house. I could
It's
be
a
at
ni-
any
it's
other
a nice
house, but I'm at John's house.
Hey, Walter, what round were you drafted?
Is there over under on the number of cornerbacks taken in the first round?
Yes, I'll find it. Cornerbacks are.
Hey, while he's looking, what round were you
2.5?
drafted in, Walter?
It'd be 2.5.
Fourth round.
Fourth
I
round?
think it was 2.5. I do.
I would
believe.
think it'd be 2.5.
I'd take the over. Take the over.
I think this is gonna be the over too. Yeah.
I can tell
I
you
would
one
say
team
I would
who I
take
think is
the
going
under just because there's so many defensive linemen, all the quarterbacks. Somebody's going to
think-
reach for B. John and take him in the first.
to.
Yeah,
I
two and
think
running back.
Real
at
quick,
least
we're running out of
one
time.
team.
2.5.
While we're running out of time, just real quick, everybody. Did the Jets get ripped off? I'm going to say no.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
Because they don't know how long Rodgers is going to be around. That's the concern.
No,
James?
I think it's a win for both sides.
John?
Oh, of course. I mean, you're giving up a second next year that's going to turn
And
into
possibly
a
a
first.
first. Yep.
It's going to turn into a first if you play 65% of the snaps, of course.
Thank you.
Walter?
So I mean, what was the trade details?
So they swapped first rounds this year. What did they get? A
The
second
Packers
round?
move. Packers
got a
at
second
13
round.
and 15. Yeah.
Right. Packers got a second round this year. The Jets got a fifth round this year. Next year, the Packers get a second round, but it's
Which can
conditional.
turn into a first.
If he plays 65% of the snaps, it becomes a first round pick.
Yeah.
That's probably gonna
And the Jets are paying pretty much all of his salary. I think they converted it into a signing bonus, but nonetheless, they're still paying him a lot.
yeah, I mean, if they get into the playoffs, then I mean, you can kind of eat some of that there.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the biggest thing. You're looking. It's
Yeah.
kind of the situation we had Tavares Jackson and they drafted Russell Wilson.
Yep.
And Russell kind of outperformed, a little bit more aggressive, but they were relying on defense that whole year. So it's like if we got to the playoff, we paid Matt Flynn $10 million. that's a win. It's a wash there. So I think
Okay.
yeah.
All right, Dave, what do you think?
50 million is a lot different than 10, but yeah. You know, I don't know. I think the whole thing's a mess.
I agree.
And
I'm just glad it's over for now.
Yeah,
Well,
I feel bad. I feel bad for New York because it's like they didn't learn the first time that they got the old. They didn't learn it the first, you know, and really, like I said this before, it's where quarterbacks go to die. I mean, they've had so many great talents there that just die. They don't do anything there because they don't surround them with anything. They don't give them any chance of success, and you just go there and get creamed, and then you're done.
That's like the first time I've ever seen Dave down when we had him on the show. So keep that in mind. Raphael?
I agree with James. It's a win for both. I mean, just to get Aaron Rodgers to put his name on a different number of a jersey is probably going to get some of that money back. The Jets had to get him. They missed out on so many other quarterbacks going to other teams. It's a win for both.
We got to wrap up in one moment. John, go ahead.
By the way, Joe Namath gave him the blessing to wear number 12.
He's going to wear 8.
He's going to wear 8. Yeah.
I'm going to say this for everybody in the back. You didn't learn it the first time. You did it again. It's not going to work. Jets fans, I'm sorry. On that note, everybody have a really good time. John, James, can't wait to hear about the draft. On that note, we will all see you next week because we got to wrap up. Everybody, thank you, and we'll see you next time.